could have been. I mean, all I know is I got insanely bored, and then, that showed up in all sorts of unique ways, which then ended up, translating to me being in a special ed class. And, it's funny, man, when I started doing a lot of deep psychiatry work, I had a psychotherapist that I still work with, but, I obviously, not obviously, but I met with a lot more frequently in the early stages of that. And I mean, I remembered things that like I had completely buried. Like I remember at one point being in a class, and half the kids I was in the class with like had Down syndrome. Today, we're thrilled to welcome Brian Gold to our podcast. Brian's a true beacon of resilience and entrepreneurial spirit. From humbling beginnings at the age of 17, Brian has carved a path through adversity to become a revered business magnate. He's leading a vibrant team that has grown from 5 to over 300. His strategic and innovative approach to business is nothing short of inspiring. Brian's journey is marked by profound challenges. He navigated through his early educational struggles, which included being labeled as special needs from 6th grade till his first year in college, which is something that I can actually personally relate to and interested in hearing more about that. He also had a significant health scare at 22 where he battled a brain tumor. Despite these hurdles, he's emerged stronger, channeling his experiences into a deep-seated drive for success and compassion. He's a passionate advocate for Second Amendment rights. Brian is also a skilled firearms instructor. Emphasizing the importance of responsible gun ownership, his work extends into the digital world, where as a social media influencer and branding ambassador, he leverages his substantial online presence to promote brands he truly believes in. In addition to his business and advocacy, Brian has ventured into the podcasting scene with the Truth Hurts Show, alongside his co-host Chauncey Leopardi, also known as Squints, which is actually pretty freaking cool. The podcast has quickly become a top contender in the Apple business category, where they explore a range of critical topics from business insights to personal development. Join us as Brian shares his extraordinary story of overcoming the odds and his tips for business success, advocacy, and personal growth. His journey is a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the potential within all of us to overcome even the most daunting of challenges. Appreciate you being here today, Brian.
Appreciate you both, and that's one hell of an intro.
Yeah, man. I like it. So is Squints, is that from The Sandlot?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was such a good freaking movie. They don't make them like that anymore.
We were actually joking about that on an episode. You couldn't make that movie today.
No way.
Well, specifically that scene we're referencing.
Yeah, you mean the lifeguard scene? Yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking, what a baller.
It would be
There was one, oh man. Yeah. So good.
Yeah, it'd be a problem.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, for a lot of people who would be in a circumstance like that, overwhelming negativity, there's abuse, physical, verbal, there's drugs, there's everything like that. They would just find the reason to claim their victimhood and never push past that, and they would settle for a relatively basic life. Not that there's anything wrong with a basic life, but it sounds like what you did is internalize, like, everything that was going on, and you realize, like, I was created for a purpose. I don't know when you figured that out, but like I'm guessing that is probably what propelled you or even compelled you to move in the lane that you're currently in as an entrepreneur and as somebody who is contributing to a lot of these different causes that you believe in. When was it that you decided, like, hey, man, I'm going to try and catapult myself out of this track that I could easily end up on where I become like my dad or I become like my mom, and then I'm going to do something great with my life? What point in your life?
Around the 20-ish point, and that kind of propelled me in a weird way, because for me, I'm always giving, but I have a hard time receiving. So if someone does something really nice and genuine for me, I don't know how to accept it and say thank you. Something as simple as picking me up from the airport, I'm like, what did I do wrong? Why are you grabbing me from the airport? Like, I can take an Uber, I can order a car, like whatever it might be. And so it turned me into a model of just always giving because no one ever gave to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm still working through how to accept people giving to me now.
And so was that what you were trying to do? You were trying to create something that you had more to give, like building a business so that you had more to give other people?
Correct.
So that's a way. I mean, in a way, you were I'm not gonna say it's control issues, but like, you were trying to create this,
No,
a
it's a
protective
control
environment.
issue.
Yeah, right on.
It's 100% a control issue. Like, if I don't have my car in an event, it's a bunch of these little quirks that got built in over the years as protection. And I recognize it. I know I got to work through it, but I at least know they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And, even going back to a topic that you relate to, Nate, is the special education. Like,
Yeah.
you were put in a special classroom. Yeah, you got extra help on subjects you needed help with, but then people looked at you different, didn't want to help you, or they'd bully you. And dude, I can't count how many fights I got into in high school and middle school just because people were like, oh, you're a special ed kid. Well, I had a fucking black belt. Like, run it, bitch, because you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And my dad was always at the principal's office. Like, it was bad.
No, I definitely. Yeah, so you understandably had a chip on your shoulder. I mean, you kind of already had a rough go from early on, and then, you're labeled in a specific way. I mean, and I definitely do get that. I tested actually very high from an intelligent level when I was young, but I got in so much trouble, and my ADHD was so bad in elementary school. Like, you can imagine, like, Texas in 1984, the way that they...
Well, we weren't designed to sit in classrooms.
No, we weren't. And
so I don't know if it was ADHD or you're just hyper-focused.
It could have been. I mean, all I know is I got insanely bored, and then, that showed up in all sorts of unique ways, which then ended up, translating to me being in a special ed class. And, it's funny, man, when I started doing a lot of deep psychiatry work, I had a psychotherapist that I still work with, but I obviously not obviously, but I met with a lot more frequently in the early stages of that. And I mean, I remembered things that like I had completely buried. Like, I remember at one point being in a class, and half the kids I was in the class with like had Down syndrome. And again, not to talk negatively about Down syndrome, I actually have a special needs child. My youngest daughter has Williams syndrome. So we still very much are passionate about the special needs community. But like, that was like, I kind of was looking around, and I'm like, is this me? Like, is this the right place for me? It doesn't feel like this is the right place for me. But, between that and the other expectations for me being a troublemaker, like, there was a period there where I settled into just owning it and being like, you know what, if this is who you guys say I am, and you're going to tell me to my face you don't trust me and that I'm a troublemaker, like, I'm gonna align with that. And like, I went all in, and I ended up, finding myself in a private school when my parents finally, decided, all right, this isn't working. But it took a long, it took some focused effort to kind of work myself out of that. What, can you kind of go into that for yourself? Like, how did you navigate through that and not associate, with that to the point to where, it had a negative impact on your trajectory?
Life couldn't get much harder than it already was a young childhood. So I just pushed through it and just said, fuck it. I want out of this fucking place. I'll do the bare minimum to get out of school and then figure out what the fuck I want to do next. And I was a C- student on a good day and got it done and fucking never looked back. I talked to one person from high school I think he's 3 years older than me. So we didn't even have classes together. And everybody else from high school, I fucking cut out of my life the day I left. Haven't talked to him since, just because I didn't want to associate. You motherfuckers weren't there for me when we were in school. And now that I've made it, you want to be my friend? Cool story, bro. Fuck off.
With regards to so compensation skills, like, would you say, like, by kind of being thrown in that category, like, so you weren't learning, your education was not what other kids were getting? Like, would you say that you, through that experience, developed street smarts, or like, other compensation skills that like did end up translating well, like finding loopholes, like, you're just kind of a problem solver?
Yes, I found solutions for everything, and that's what I do these days. Like, even though technically I'm an influencer, people reach out to me all day long. Hey, Brian, I have this business. I need your help hacking it to grow it to the next level. And we'll have a couple hour conversation. I'll find the holes. I'll formulate a plan before I tell you the holes and be like, all right, here's what I see. Here's what you need to do. And, you know, do your thing. Like one guy recently, we're on a podcast together, and he was like asking very specific questions that weren't related to me per se. And afterwards, we had a 30-minute conversation, and I was able to save the guy $5 million just by pushing him in the right direction to change a couple things. And it's just being able to read the situation and see between the lines of, okay, this guy's struggling, and no different than the suicide stuff. It's people struggling in business. Like, you have to, every entrepreneur I know isn't going to ask for help. So you have to find a way to help them without, you know, them asking.
That makes sense. With, so I mean, there's definitely a common thread here where, I mean, you really do, like, whether it's, you know, helping other people that are fighting some of the same battles you fought in the past, or it's, you know, areas where, you know, you're passionate for having, you know, a positive impact, like with you know, suicide and veterans and mental health, or it's with entrepreneurs. Like, you really, I mean, you're very proactively out there trying to help people.
Yeah, and I do the best I can with what I got.
Yeah.
Now, when you started your first business, what was that first business?
My parents had a pharmacy that specialized in HIV and AIDS, and I stepped in when my parents split on two of them, and then closed one, reopened one, built it, moved it, and then finally exited a couple years ago. And I learned a long time ago, just get rich by giving shit away for free. Give away free product, it'll pay yourself back one way or another. And don't expect shit in return. Just, hey, if you sell a quality product and you give $200-300 away, the word's going to get out there, bro, this company just sent me this shit. Like, it's fucking amazing. And just grows. And that's what a lot of people are like, oh, brands will reach out, I'll send you this product, can you post it? Instead of just saying, hey, I'll send you this product, have fun.
Yeah.
If anyone reaches out and says, hey, can I send you something to play with? I'll play with it. And if I actually like it, more than likely I'll post at least a story for you. If the product's shit, I'm not posting it.
Yeah, I think that you kind of hit on something that a previous guest that we just had on, Bruce Cardenas, who worked with Quest Nutrition, or still works with Quest, talked about, which was the idea of committing to do something when there's no immediate payout. I think that so many of us, including myself, man, like we have this transactional nature. It's like, if I do this, then I'll get this. But
no, Bruce is the king of sending out care packages. No strings attached.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that you know Bruce.
Yeah, and on top of that,
he
got to where he was by just putting in work for no expected payout. I thought
he still does that.
Yeah, incredibly admirable. Like, nobody really does that. Like, it's all an exchange basis. And I think if we can liberate ourselves from that mentality, especially people who own businesses like us, like Nate and I, it's just like, man, things would just be so much better. I mean, you know, we look at this podcast as a way to help the company grow, but at the same time, like, when we had our initial conversations around starting this, we're like, it may take years before this even makes a buck. And we're okay with that, because I think at the end of the day, like, what we would like to do is provide value for people. Like, we hope that the thousands of people who listen to this aren't trying to avoid ads on the way to getting to the truth. That we can just give away truth for free and not even have to monetize a podcast, because that's what's more important, is being able to provide something of value in exchange for nothing. Now, of course, having a good product, that definitely makes sense. We're happy that we do have good products, but I think that you've really hit on something that a lot of people could benefit from understanding. Because, again, like, there's so many people, especially the Gen Zers, who are like, I want to be a YouTuber, because they just think that that's how they can make money. They don't think about it in terms of how successful YouTubers now got to where they were, where all they did was do something for free because they enjoyed it and they knew that they wanted other people to see it.
People don't understand what it cost you to run this podcast.
Yeah.
The equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Riverside. Everything in between. The backdrop. The editors. And everybody's like, oh, you get to have fun. Okay, you pay for all of it. And then be creative every time you have a guest on. And, oh, you can't look at your phone for 2 hours because the podcast is going to take 2 hours, and you actually have to have a real conversation, not be like, oh, let me check my DMs real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, or all the work stuff that stacks up, or, you know, the rest of the world that you have to tell them that, like, so, like, yeah, I'm here on my property with my family, and all my daughters, I've got three, my wife, I'm like, hey, unless there's like an absolute emergency, like, please don't come into my office. So it's like, I mean, literally, there's a lot of committed action to your point. But it's a privilege too. I mean, we feel very blessed to be able to do this. And the goal is to that other people, do well. The whole goal is that other people benefit from the stories that are told and the truth that's revealed in the conversations that are had. And I mean, something else that kind of hit me when you were just sharing with us earlier about things that you're passionate about, and it's like you've had a lot of business success. You seek to have a positive impact, but you're not. But it's like your business and your success has propelled you and enabled you to do that more, but you're not necessarily like trying to glorify it or use that to necessarily continue to build your business. It's just something that like you have the blessing and the ability to do, which is I think it's worth stating.
Yeah, and look, I'm all about being low key. Like, people always try and buy me fancy clothes. I'm like, dude, I wear free t-shirts. Like, all these brands send me clothes. Like, why am I going to go waste money on something that I could give a fuck? I wear joggers and a t-shirt or basketball shorts and a t-shirt. I'm not the guy to impress you. If you know who I am, great. If you don't, great. I'm nobody special. I am the same as you. And treat everybody with the same level of respect, whether it's the janitor or fucking the president. Well, not our current president.
I didn't say it. I certainly thought it.
A president.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just, yeah. And look, I've been put in rooms that I'm like, I don't belong in this room. And everybody's like, dude, you more than belong. I'm like, well, I don't feel worthy of being in this room.
That's probably part of the reason why you're in that room, though.
Yeah, like Tim Kennedy thanked me on Sunday. He's like, dude, thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming out. You could be anywhere in the world. You're here right now supporting us, supporting this mission. I'm like, to me, I'm like, it's just a Sunday, dude. Like, why are you so thankful? And that's something again, I have to work through, of accepting that thanks, accepting that I went above and beyond when I just think that's normal. But to hop on a flight, stay at a hotel, put on a suit and tie and go do this and talk and mingle with people, like, that's more commitment than most people are willing to do.
Yeah, that would be really hard for me. I don't like wearing collared shirts, so having to go across the country to put on a suit would be a big ask. I'd be like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah,
and pack it in your suitcase.
Yeah. Oh, gee, well, did you have to get it ironed?
Validate this. We sometimes have a tough time getting Adam to even wear a shirt to our meetings.
This is true.
You got a 6-pack under there or what?
I have an 8-pack. It's covered by some insulation, though. Got to keep the.
I was gonna say,
keep the cans cool. Yeah, it is true. A lot of the times, like, I usually spend about 2 months down in Florida in the spring because I don't like being here where I am right now, which is Iowa, in the wintertime. So we're like, let's get out of here. And most of the times I've got a cigar, and then the sun is radiating on my gorgeous body, right, Nate?
It's confidence.
Yeah,
confidence.
That's it.
I like it.
No, I just think it's really interesting. Like, one, not being able to receive. I understand like how you can get to that place when your early life is devoid of actually having any positive feedback. People aren't giving you. But I think that's something that a lot of people may end up assuming about you is that you may be happy because of like the number of followers you have, right? I think you have 2 million on Instagram. And
I could give a shit.
Right. And that's what I even was thinking about that question, because I know that a lot of people are looking at what you've got in terms of a following and they think, oh, if I could have that, I'd be happy. But what you've discovered and what Nate and I know to be true, and what I hope a lot of people here listening understand, is that like it's not what you can receive necessarily that makes you happy, like in terms of material possessions and like building something that on its surface looks enviable. It's actually like the status or the position of your soul and your ability to give back to others that is actually what's going to make you happy, which is, that's a why that you can actually find to be invigorating and fulfilling every single day. Is like if you orient yourself around what others can get from you, like that's, again, it's the golden rule. Like, do unto others as you would have them do to you. And of course, like now you're in a position, which is interesting, where it's like, okay, I have to learn how to accept when people give anything to me. And I think that that's like, I think that you're going to find huge dividends in being able to learn how to accept positive feedback, love, whatever it may be. And, you know, like, not only will that help you and your soul, but it's also going to help all the people that you're already helping, because like now you're just like, your battery's full.
Yeah, and back to the whole possessions thing. Recently, I had to live out of a suitcase for, I don't know, 60 days-ish with only the possessions I left with. And I won't get into the semantics of why, but just, it was very liberating to not have all my shit. I had my core essentials, my laptop, my toiletries, my meds, and enough clothes to make it 9 days. And I didn't want to go out and buy new clothes, didn't want to go out and buy new shit. Like, I was perfectly content with the limited shit I had.
It's so true. Because like, as I mentioned, going to Florida, we essentially take all that we need for 2 months and put it into a car. So that's me, my wife, and 2 kids. And we're able to make it work that entire time. Like, I don't find myself missing all that much about what I have in my house. It's 3 times larger at home. I'm just like, no, like, I don't need all of these clothes. I don't need all of these things. We're perfectly fine with the very little possessions that we have. Because one, what we found not only is that those things we just have ourselves, like, it's the relationships that we're able to maintain that actually make the experience that much better. And like, adding more stuff doesn't make it one iota better than it would be when we've subtracted so many different things. But yeah.
Yeah, and people just don't realize by having all that extra clutter in your home how much it spikes your cortisol.
Yeah. Oh,
Gosh, yeah,
let's go.
Absolutely.
Because like, dude, I totally get that. As soon as I got back here from Florida, and I'm like, oh, I've got all these things that I have to buy for the house, and all of a sudden you're like, I have to manage all of it. Just things alone cause stress. Like, so I'm going to hear it sounds like you actually probably know a lot about like how possessions can impact hormones and this, that, and the other.
Oh, just walking in your house and seeing like excessive amounts of clutter is enough to just elevate a situation where you want to fight with your spouse for no reason. You know, walking into a dirty kitchen or walking into the closet and there's no room for, you know, the new box of merch that just showed up for me. And people just don't realize you don't need all this shit. How many hundreds of thousands of items do you have inside of your house? You don't have to be rich to have that many items.
Not anymore. Yeah.
You know, no, you got clothes, you got CDs, you got, you know, iPods, old cell phones. Like, dude, do you go through your house once a quarter and declutter it? Like, even my kid, like, if we get her a bunch of new toys, when she's with me, go through all of her shit and, you know, I get rid of half of the toys she's not using or the toys she broke. And I'm like, why are we going to save these things that are toasted?
Right.
Yeah. No, it's amazing how much stuff we can accumulate as people, and then how that actually shows up in, you know, real world stress and the weight that we carry. What's the saying? People say, you know, the stuff ends up owning you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's also more money,
and
more problems, and people don't compute that. But it's like, okay, if you have one car, that's the only thing that you have to worry about, like servicing. You have to get one car's oil change. You have to get one car's gas filled up.
Yeah, that wasn't fun.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, if you have 6 cars, geez, 6 service appointments, 6 gas tanks to fill, 6 whatever. It's just like one of those things. Like, and it's the same thing with business. Like, not that we need to go down the business track, but like, I constantly think about this. It's like, okay, if we 10x'd our business in terms of revenue, it would not eliminate any of the problems that we have right now. We would just have new, bigger problems. So like, growth for the sake of growth isn't an answer either. And it's certainly not an answer to the fundamental problems of like, why are we even in this business anyway? So I don't need to go on a digression there, but it all plays into.
And look, brands send me stuff all the time. If I like it, cool, it's usable, I play with it, great. But a lot of the stuff I give away. Like, I did what I needed with it, and I'm like, okay, I don't need it anymore. How many backpacks does one person need? I remember looking in my office one day, I was like, why is there 25 backpacks?
Right?
Like, what the fuck do you do with this many backpacks?
It's like, well, I mean,
or like boxes of free clothes. Go donate it.
Well, what do you end up doing, whether it's a house with empty rooms, or if it's backpacks that aren't filled up? If they're just sitting there, like, what do you want to do? Like,
got to fill it up.
I'd rather have a room empty.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a room empty.
Yeah, but a lot of people end up filling them up. and then it's
Oh,
they
yeah.
just create. It's just more of the same over and over again.
It's like something as simple as going through your toiletry area in your fucking bathroom. It's like, well, when you travel, what do you actually use?
Yeah.
And I'm on a plane every other week, so I've limited down like how much extra shit I actually need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you travel pretty down and dirty.
Oh, I can do China 10 days carry on only.
Wow,
That's
that's
awesome.
impressive.
That is impressive. Well, we got all right. So
Basketball shorts and t-shirts.
say that again.
Basketball shorts and t-shirts
That's it.
and one pair of pants.
Now the pants, are they? You just take like jeans, or do you travel with one
Just
of
pair of jeans.
No, okay,
Just jeans.
nice.
Unless like I was forewarned I need slacks.
Right.
Jeans.
But you don't get fancy with any of the other materials that are out there. It's just jeans.
No, like when I'm in Dubai, I wear the traditional men's dress if I have to go anywhere like formal. And dude, it fucking folds like a robe.
Yeah, so that's easy to stow away.
Note to self.
Yeah, and yeah, I blend in. I'm like, just wear white underwear and a white t-shirt underneath. You're good.
Yeah. So we're kind of talking about the some of the mental health and kind of staying light and being able to live life on your terms. Like when we were kind of preparing for today, we saw that you had a big health scare when you were 22,
Mm-hmm.
which there's been some time since then, but that wasn't that long ago. You kind of
So the tumor's still there.
Okay.
Hasn't gone away.
Okay.
It's in a spot where they said the risk exceeds the gain. Not unfortunately. By not taking it out, I have to take medications to resupplement all of my hormones because my body doesn't make testosterone, growth hormone, thyroid. I have to resupplement back everything. And I've adapted to it. It's a couple injections every day. It's a handful of pills and vitamins every day. It's a lot of shit. And most people be like, oh, why me? I'm like, just part of my fucking routine. Like any chick I date now, like they'll see me with a pill container and they'll be like, why the hell's there 20 pills in there? I was like, well, that's tonight's dose. This morning was another 20. And, if no one ever sees me do my injections just because I'm weird about it.
That's fair.
But, I got to travel with meds. I got to travel with refrigerated items. It's all of these different things that most people take for granted. And I'm like, well, it's just part of life. But I have to remember I'm going away for 2 weeks. Well, we got to pack 2.5 weeks because what if I get stuck somewhere or if I need to extend?
Mm-hmm.
And I pre-pack it all so I don't have to deal with the bullshit.
And yeah, you definitely have to be dialed on the travel front for sure with all of that.
And that's probably why I'm so OCD about my packing and how I can travel so light, just because I know, okay, here's my mental checklist. And I sit in my office, the night before for an hour, did I check every single box? Even though I do this every other week, I still have to do my mental checklist.
Sure.
And there's certain stuff that only stays in my travel bag that doesn't come out, and vice versa.
And this is something that you've been having to do. Obviously, it's probably shown up differently since 22. But so this happened to you at 22. What like that's something that's pretty heavy to get hit with that at the age of 22. Could you kind of take us back to that point and like what? I mean,
I started getting fat. And I was like, whatever. I don't work out. I don't like to work out. And then every day around 3 o'clock, I'd send my assistant to go get me an espresso double shot, a Red Bull, and a Bear Claw.
Okay.
I'd drink it, eat it. 30 minutes later, I'd be asleep on my desk. Like, dude, I just pounded all this fucking caffeine and sugar. How the fuck am I asleep? I did this shit for like 2 months. And finally, I went to one of the doctors I worked with. I was like, Chuck, what the fuck's going on? He runs my labs. He's like, dude, all your shit's out of whack. Did you use steroids? I'm like, I'm 250 pounds. What steroids? I'm fucking fat, bro. And he's like, all right. I'm going to send you for an MRI. I'm like, what the fuck does an MRI and me being fat and not feeling good have to do with anything? He's like, dude, if it's something, I'll call you. All right, whatever, bro. I go do the MRI. He calls me 3 days later and goes, I was right. I was like, about? You didn't tell me what? He's like, well, you have a pituitary adenoma, a tumor sitting on top of the pituitary gland that's secreting all of your hormones. Cool. Now what? Take it out? And I went across the country. I saw 13 different doctors, got 13 different answers. And I went back to Chuck and said, fuck this. Find me a solution. And even my ex at the time would go to doctor's appointments for me without me being there because I was just so overwhelmed of hearing the same bullshit or different bullshit with no recourse of action. I'm like, I'm not going to the doctor's appointment. Go on my behalf. And she did. And Chuck came back and was like, all right, we're just going to put you on all these meds. We're going to retest your blood work every 90 days. I give up 22 vials of blood, even still to this day. And we just monitor everything. And sometimes my body adapts and I have to change my meds out. I have to change out half of them or more of them. And we just go with the flow and just kind of, I do my best to keep my stress down. But obviously being a business owner and doing all this stuff, the kids, everything, like, it's kind of hard to keep your stress down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
I imagine you've got some routines that would be interesting to talk about there too. But yeah, that is a lot. So so at 22, you already had businesses, you're running businesses. This thing smacks you in the face, like, and at this point, was this just you kind of, I mean, given the background and the obstacles that you had already faced, like, you know, did you just kind of take that in stride and just start attacking it right out of the gate, or like, you know, what did that look like?
I married a chick after 30 days of meeting her because I thought I was going to die.
Okay.
Clearly I didn't die. We stayed together for 2 years and I realized that was a cool learning experience and we just weren't meant to do this, and learn that this is manageable and I'm able to evolve and grow and still have a normal life, and nobody would know unless I said something. You know, I look like a guy that maybe works out 2-3 days a week, and you would never know that I have any health conditions.
So
yeah, I mean, I would definitely not guess by looking at you or the videos that we were watching before we have actually gotten to meet that you had any type of challenge like that, which is great. It means like,
no.
You know, you're succeeding in attacking the challenges.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's benign then, I take it.
I'm going to assume so, but nobody's gone fishing.
Yeah. No radiation treatment, no chemo, nothing like that.
No, it's actually shrunken a little bit. So I've been doing a lot of other treatments in other countries, heavy metal detoxes, because, you know, technically I eat lead a lot of the month when I'm on the gun range.
Oh, yeah.
So just doing heavy metal detoxes, doing stem cells in Colombia, trying to eat clean-ish. I'm still a fat kid. Didn't have to. I did the gastric sleeve a couple years ago because I got up to 265 and then shed off 110 pounds after doing the sleeve. So happy about that. Wish I did it sooner.
Yeah.
Doing my best to maintain a semi-healthy lifestyle to stick it around for my kids.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the gun range and eating lead. I actually was just looking on your Instagram, and then there was a non-toxic dad that you recently had on.
Yep.
And so, like, I was going through his feed because, like, that interests me. My dad's a functional medicine doctor, so he's really into integrative medicine and toxins. And I'm sitting there like, oh, holy crap! Like, I already knew that guns weren't exactly the safest thing, but I never really thought about. Every time I go to an indoor range, which is two times a week. Even with the advanced ventilation, it's just like all of it's just hanging out in the air, just breathing it in. And then, of course, like, you know, loading rounds. I look at my hands after that. They're always just pitch black.
Or when you're shooting an AR and it's coming out the fucking
directly into your face.
ejection. I'm like,
like, if you can see my suppressor right here, which is overgassed right now and just blowing back straight into your face.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next thing. People don't realize shooting with the suppressor, if it's not dialed correctly,
it's so
good luck.
Yeah, so overgassed. So, yeah. That's actually interesting. Have you ever done zeolites?
I have not.
So Nate and I were down in Austin for, what was it, June? I think we were doing some planning.
One of our quarterly meetings.
Yeah, and we met this guy who he had recently worked with Paul Saladino as well as Dr. Mercola, and he runs, if I'm not mistaken, he runs a company that does zeolites, he does the heavy metal testing. And zeolites are they're like an aluminum type silicate. I can't remember the exact composition, but they're found naturally. There's also synthetic zeolites. And what they do is essentially act as a sponge when you take them into your body, and they attract heavy metals to them, which allows for the expulsion of the heavy metals minus like the intensity of chelation. So those,
Yeah, which is what I do 3 times a year.
dude, that's got to be rough.
It's actually not that bad.
Really? I've had my dad is
But I've been through enough shit where I'm like,
yeah, just gives you like intense flu-like symptoms for a few days.
Yeah, like, look, every time I take my meds, I feel like shit for 30 minutes. So I'm like,
So what's 3 days?
what's the big deal?
What's 3 days?
Yeah, well, it's 3 days.
Yeah, so you mentioned the other like kind of daily rituals you have. So what else? Kind of like what else is a part of like that daily flow for you that helps you just manage stress and some of the things that would make things more challenging if you weren't doing that. Did you cold plunge
Number
or
one
do
is
anything like that?
I want to do it more. I need to get one. I just have to wear a special sock because of the back surgeries. I get that weird foot burning just on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like I need a scuba sock just for the left. But getting solid sleep, like blackout blinds, make a huge difference. Just something as simple as that, keeping the room cold. And once you're able to get a solid sleep, I don't have a solid sleep time. I might go to bed at 10. I might go to bed at 4. Just depends on how I feel that day. I like to take a daily nap if I can for 20, 30 minutes. I don't care if it's in my car, wherever. Like in a parking lot, I could give a shit. And making sure I eat every 3-4 hours just because of the gastric sleeve. My stomach's really small, so I get hangry.
Did the doctor tell you that, hey, there's this thing with the gastric sleeve, you're going to have intense hangriness throughout the day?
He's like, dude, you better eat every 2 hours.
Oh, man.
So I travel with snacks everywhere.
So speaking of travel, like you had mentioned that you have a pretty curated list of things you travel with. Do you travel with anything that blocks out the sun in case you go to a hotel or somewhere that doesn't have blackout curtains?
I do keep a sleep mask in my bag. I keep earplugs in my bag. And I have my meditation music that I sleep to drown out just white noise.
Yeah. I mean, my wife and I, we've been sleeping with blackout curtains for like 6 years now, 7 years. I built a box in my son's room to go around his giant window, so it just sits on top.
Buddy.
And then when we, so this past time when we went down to Florida, we actually brought some blackout blinds that we just pinned up to the wall. But the year before when we were in Florida, we just did the ghettoest thing ever, and we put aluminum foil directly on the window. Like,
hey, bro,
yeah.
It works.
Oh, it works, and it's cheap. I was just like, it was an Airbnb, and fortunately the windows were facing to the back, so nobody could see it. But I'm just thinking, wow, we just took down the home values in this neighborhood like 10 grand by having these aluminum foil windows. It looks so
little
bad.
blue tape and fucking aluminum foil.
Oh, it was so funny. The only thing that kind of sucked about it was we got the thin aluminum foil, so whenever the air would kick on, it would kind of rattle a little bit.
It would wrinkle.
In the kids' room. So we fixed that with some heavier stuff. But just kind of funny, like the things that you do when you know sleep is that important. Like I wouldn't have thought years ago.
Black electrical tape for all the little LEDs.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
There you go.
Yes, I go that far.
I do rubber
You
bands.
mentioned
I put like a rubber band around it because then I can take it off when I need to use it.
So you mentioned, so you keep your room colder. What, you keep it, what, 67, 66?
68-ish.
68-ish. Nice, yeah. Yeah, that definitely helps. And it's something we...
And if I'm sleeping next to someone, I drop it down to 66.
Have you ever tried like a, what is it, chili pad? Have you ever heard of that?
I have Sleep 8 at my house. That I love.
So you can adjust the temp.
That is just... I have it on autopilot, so it automatically adjusts when I'm getting too hot.
Yeah. Nice. I've been wanting to get that. It's just like, at some point, I'm like, if I spend $1,500 on this, is it really going to help me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I take your word for it. And yeah.
Keyword is yes.
All right.
I've had my nose broken a number of times. And so I actually have had the deviated septum surgery because of it from, because it was even giving me problems when I was younger. Even with all of that, I still have sleep apnea. And like, I think my wife for several years was like, I think you have sleep apnea. You get stressed. You have sleep apnea. I was like, I'm fine. And then I just kept feeling there, and it wasn't just the sleep apnea. There was some. I've got some issues with my thyroid as well, but like I just continued to feel like crap. And one of the biggest things that did move the needle was when I finally went and actually got an actual diagnosis, and I got the sleep apnea machine, which is the most ghetto thing to sleep with. But
I fucking hate that thing.
dude, the first night though, man, like the first night I put
Slept
that thing,
like a log?
I slept 11 hours, and I don't ever sleep that long. Like I used to hate sleep, and it definitely is from the years of being, in startups and starting businesses, and I've grown to like obviously appreciate and be like, all right, you need to be very intentional about your rest and recovery if you're going to continue to be able to perform at a high level. Otherwise, that'll catch up with you, and it always will catch up with you at the least opportune times. But yeah, that was, man, it's pretty wild, like how much of an impact that actually has had. So it goes with me wherever I go. I probably will try and have the surgery again to hopefully get away from having to need the machine, because I don't like depending on things. But yeah.
They have a maskless.
I sleep on my.
Oh, go for it, man.
I sleep on my stomach, so that shit's a bitch.
Yeah, they have a maskless SAT machine now.
Well, they have the mouth guard that pops in that pulls your jaw forward.
Is that okay? Yeah, I've seen some ads. I guess when I'm watching regular TV and the pharmaceutical companies are actually targeting. I'm like, oh, look at you guys! You've got a new $10,000.
You watch regular TV?
When the Iowa Hawkeyes were playing, yeah, for basketball.
There's an app for that, I'm sure.
I'm sure there is, but we were just using my brother-in-law's YouTube TV. So it's YouTube TV, but they still have the ads on ESPN. But no, I don't normally watch that. Nate, like, you used to hate sleep. All I want to do is build a business that gets to a point where I can sleep 11 hours a night. I'm just like, let's get there. That's how I know I've succeeded. If I can just sleep for 11 hours and wake up not feeling stressed, and like, I'm in a good spot.
That's a great fucking feeling.
I know. I love sleep too much.
Yeah.
I was asking this question before we got rocking, but now that we're in it, who makes a holster so you can actually wear a suit?
So, I mean, if you're talking about like a suit with your shirt tucked in and then you have an adjustable waist, ours would do that. So we do the Vanish holster. For anybody listening, that's VNSH, not VANISH. And it works great for joggers, which you'd like to wear, or basketball shorts, or anything, honestly. Like, you can wear it butt naked because it has a built-in band on it or a built-in belt. So you can definitely wear it with the suit. You wouldn't have to click it or hook it to your belt. Like, you wouldn't even need a wear belt. It would just go underneath your suit pants.
So then you could tuck the shirt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but what do you carry? Appendix or what position?
Appendix because of my back.
Yeah, so that one would be tough with the Vanish holster just because you're still going to get the pistol grip poking out the top. So, I mean, you could still tuck it over and you would just be able to run your belt around it. Like, let's just say you have a 32 size belt, you would just get a 34, and then you could just have your belt on so it looks like you're wearing your suit without a holster clip to it, and it would still be under there.
Yeah, the only problem is you still got to off-center the buckle.
Yeah, that would be the thing. So, I mean, people do wear it with the suit. I mean, we'll get you one and see if you like it. You'll definitely like it for joggers and basketball shorts. That's why I built it, because like, I don't wear jeans. I don't wear anything that has belt loops unless you're going to force me to. And so I wasn't able to carry for a long time. Like, I didn't get into carrying because I didn't want to get or change my lifestyle. I was like, no,
gotcha.
I'm going to wear joggers. Like, I'm wearing joggers right now. And so with the
me as well.
So with the Vanish, it's just like, it's great because you can just hook it on with the built-in belt and then go. Like, every time I go down to Home Depot or anywhere, I'm just like, it's not that big of a deal just to put this thing on, but I don't have to change. I can come in, go out, all that kind of stuff, and just run it. It holds 2 additional mags too. We've got 2 mag pouches on there. And then the big thing too is the materials.
What the hell are you getting into with 2 extra mags?
I mean, I'm trying to fight. Yeah, well, I carry a 45, so not a Glock 45, but a 45 caliber. I have a Kimber, so I have limited capacity. But yeah, for the people who are already doing double step,
you and your 7-shot.
Exactly. So I need those
Jesus
extra mags.
Christ.
But for anybody who's carrying a double stack and then they've got 2 additional magazines, it's like, I guess you're prepared for a shootout. So more power to you.
You could put.
I keep
else
one
in
spare.
Yeah, you could put something else in it too. It doesn't have to be a mag.
Can you fit a tourniquet?
Yeah. We're working on that right now. As a matter of fact, we're trying to build one that is going to fit in there. But it would hold a TQ. you're just gonna find.
Just make sure it sits like, flatter, because sometimes they're thicker than a
Yep.
mag.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you bring up a great point. Like if you are out there concealed carrying, like you should have a tournament.
Dude, I walk around with a tourniquet and chest seals.
Nice. There you go.
How do you carry that
Like-
in your, like if you're wearing joggers or something?
It's usually in my backpack.
Got it.
It'd be nice if it was on my body. Wearing a fanny pack, unless I have my kid, then it doesn't look like a dead giveaway that there's a gun.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I have a fanny pack. It's an ex-Umbris, and I have my Kydex holster in there. But I just feel like a tourist whenever I wear it, and I can't get down. I'm sorry. Like if anybody's
If it's just,
yeah,
if I'm by since I'm separated from my kid's mom, it's just me with my kid. So I'm like, I'm not walking around with like extra pants and a backpack. Like, bro, you're semi-potty trained. I got wipes, extra pair of clothes, and my fanny pack, and let's run it.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to run what's going to work best for them. When did you get passionate about the Second Amendment and being able to protect yourself?
So my dad got me into it when I was 12. So I've been shooting a long fucking time. I was big in the car scene, and then I got tired of the car scene and got into the gun scene in around 25, 26, and just realized how much I missed the gun scene. And meeting all these cool people, hanging around with them, going to SHOT Show. And it just evolved into, I'm not the tactical guy. I'm the let's go do fun shit guy. And that's why a lot of these brands like to work with me, because I am no fucking Mike Glover. I'm no TK.
Yeah.
Can I watch their six? Sure. I'll make sure you don't die. But, I'm not your first choice.
And when you say like cool people, like what's attractive about this crowd that's in that kind of in those circles?
Patriotism.
What else?
We all stand for. Where's this episode aired? On Riverside or YouTube?
So Riverside's the platform that we recorded on, and I mean it will inevitably end up on YouTube.
you can say it. I don't care if it gets whatever, man.
Look, everybody in the 2A community avoided what you both know I'm talking about. And we were all at events. We didn't stop.
You mean the pokey
whole time.
pokey stabby? That one?
Exactly. And none of us gave a fuck. And if either of you have been to SHOT Show, that's where we probably got it, just because there were so many people there. I got it when you're leaving. Oh, whatever. It is what it is. And it's just crazy how the 2A community, even though there's some rivalry between brands and whatnot, the 2A community is very small.
Extremely.
And people judge us for being who we are. And it's like, dude, 911 ain't coming for you. You're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that...
And I remember when all the crime broke out in LA and everybody's like, oh, where can I get a gun? I'm like, you're asking me this now? Like, dude, I told you motherfuckers 2 years ago before the shit hit the fan. I'm like, dude, you should at least have a handgun, a shotgun, and a rifle. Bare minimum, a handgun. Yeah. If you can afford the other two, get it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be brand new. You can buy a used gun. Just make sure you buy it legally, store it legally, and make sure it operates. And fucking train with it, on the low side every 60 days.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons for having one is to actually prevent things from happening. It's not so you just go out there and run around shooting the place up. It's it's as much about preventing things from ever going down.
I've carried a gun since I was 18. I have never brandished a firearm. I've never pulled the firearm. If I'm pulling it, you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
If I can run from the problem, I will.
Yeah.
And 18 years of not walking into bullshit because I don't have a fucking chip on my shoulder. I'm not bulletproof. What if he's got a gun? Yeah. What if his homie has a gun? If I can walk away and nobody gets hurt, it's the cleaner way out.
Yeah, I've when I started concealed carrying, one of the things that I explained to my wife was that, I didn't realize how much more careful and thoughtful I became, where I started thinking 3 and 4 moves ahead of things, where like, say there was just a weird thing happening with another driver. And she's like, why aren't you reacting and getting angry? You used to get a little bit more, you used to react differently to these situations. I was like, well, because I'm carrying now. Like if something happens, like,
oh, the repercussions are so much worse.
Yeah. Well, not only that,
and look,
then you just realize other people might have a gun too. If I have a gun, they could have a gun. So I don't need to be mouthing off right now.
Yeah, but you two are somebody, so our penalties are higher.
No, I just mean that when you're carrying yourself through.
No,
Yeah,
I get it. I'm just saying, even though we're carrying, our repercussions are higher because we're business owners.
Was there? So you mentioned. So you said 18 is when you started carrying. Was there an incident, or was there something specific that was the catalyst for that, or just overall awareness?
I was in pharmaceuticals, so for me, I was worried about getting hit. I was transporting meds, I was making meds, delivering meds. Like, for me, I'm like, fuck this. If anybody knows who I am and what's in the car, it's not going to be a fun day.
Yeah, my dad spent the far majority of his career in the pharmaceutical industry. He actually worked specifically in HIV as well. His company, Serono Laboratories, was the one that he was with for a long time. They had an AIDS wasting, like lean
They
muscle.
still do.
Yeah.
They haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And that shit is even more expensive than back in the day.
It was crazy. It was wild how expensive that was. But yeah, so he called on, a lot of the he even ran the other day. He told me, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, I met like that Dallas Buyers, the Dallas Buyers Club guy, like from the movie. I was like, you actually met that guy? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, he was one of the people I called on. I'm like, oh, like, okay, there you go. Random story. Yeah, no, he ran, he carried around a lot of that stuff in his car. So he was, I would say he was definitely cautious, running around with that type of stuff. But, so there wasn't anything specific incident wise. It was just,
No.
you had an awareness in general.
I was just trying to prevent a problem.
Yeah. So that's why you're grandfathered into so much stuff, because the landscape for Second Amendment permissiveness in the state of California has changed a lot in 20 years, hasn't it?
Oh yeah,
It's insane.
Yeah. Since I got, like, now you can only buy one gun a month. It's a bitch to work with gun manufacturers when, like, Kimber's like, hey Brian, we're sending you 3.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna take me 90 days.
So
just work through it.
So do you have to? So every time one of those comes in, like, is that so? You have to basically report it, and then there's like a holding period.
10-day holding at the dealer.
Okay. Got it.
And then after your 10-day holding, 20 days later, you can start another one.
Imagine that. You have 30 days to express your ability to be free.
Yep. And don't worry, guys. Call 911. They'll be there within 30 minutes if you're lucky.
Yeah.
100% of the never the time.
Exactly.
And so how do you?
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was just gonna say, how do you fight against that in that state? Like, I know that the tide is shifting in California, where people.
I feel like California turned red.
I feel like that's what I'm saying. Like, there's enough people. It's like America.
I just think it's a rigged deck.
Right. If the people only realize.
There is no way everybody. Like, there might be 10% of the California population that just doesn't think there's anything wrong with the crime because they're from countries where the crime is much worse. So, like, that's not that bad. But I'd say 85-90% of the people in LA are tired of the bullshit of, oh, I can't wear a nice watch. I can't go to this dinner. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, if I drive this car to this area, it's going to be a problem.
I mean, and is that just from conversations and people that you know? Like, what are you seeing or hearing? Where are you seeing and hearing it that's, kind of indicating that?
So during the last election, you drive by the Trump rallies, and there was thousands. I mean, tens of thousands. You drive by another person, and there was 4 or 5 cars, maybe 10 on the high side. And it was just crazy to see how dedicated these people are. And a lot of the people I follow on social media are calling out, oh, the crime's insane. The people that used to say, oh, you shouldn't have a gun are like, dude, I had to go buy a gun. Like, you can just see by going to the gun store. The type of people that are in there now would never be the guy in there 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, people who would have been quote-unquote blue are now turning into moderates, if not even getting a little bit red-pilled, at least when it comes to the Second Amendment.
I think maybe they're not necessarily red-pilled. Maybe now they kind of lean a little bit of both ways. Some topics they're still blue, some topics they're more red. And it's just, people are tired.
Yeah, the one thing, and I'm not, I definitely wouldn't say I'm disagreeing with you. Because I have some of the similar thoughts and observations. Because I live down here in Texas. It's obviously still hopefully it's still a red state. We'll find out this next.
I'd say but everything outside of Austin.
Yeah. I mean, we have had a lot of folks move in from out of state that it's those lines kind of continue to move. But one of the questions I've kind of continued to ask myself is I've sometimes wondered when, because I when I see how massive Trump support is, I'm like, that's like, wow, he's getting a lot of support. And then, and then you see in the last election, like, the town halls and the things that Biden's doing, and there's next to nobody there. Like, and I've kind of in the background, the question I've asked myself, I'm like, man, like, wonder how much of that is like they're not showing up for Biden because they're not actually excited about Biden. They're just not voting for Trump.
Yeah, but I don't think there was that many.
Oh, are we going into full blown conspiracies here? Because I believe it.
No, I'm just saying I just don't feel it.
No,
That's all I'm saying.
It's a lot to bite off on.
No, there's no way that man won. There is no possible way. And if he wins again, then beyond the shadow of a doubt that people are pulling strings. Because there ain't no way we're going to be voting in that vegetable of a man en masse unless... Well, actually, Gavin Newsom will probably end up being the pick for the Democrats because I'm pretty sure Biden will expire by the time the elections roll around.
One thing that I would imagine that you probably have either heard or deal with some. I mean, you've obviously had a lot of your victories have been hard fought. Like, you definitely did not have things stacked in your favor when you were younger. You got slapped in the face with a massive health condition. You fought your way through that. I mean, any one of those things could potentially derail somebody and it go a very different direction. And then we look at your success, like with being a brand ambassador and the branding capabilities and knowledge and experience you have now, and what you've been able to do with your online presence. Like, a lot of people could attribute that to I think when people see people online, they're like, oh, like they're just naturally good at this. Like, they know how to be on in front of cameras. Like, they're just cool. They have the it factor, or they got lucky, or it was good timing, or there's just something that's unique about you that no one else can duplicate. Like, what are your thoughts around that? Like, as far as it relates to other people looking at you and trying to make their mark.
I only started talking on camera 2.5 years ago. Everything before that was just video with audio overlaid of music and things of me just doing beauty shots. And the podcast has really opened me up to talking more on camera, being able to not being afraid of the camera. And it's really changed things. Like, before it'd take me 10 takes when we first started shit. Now I'm down to, one take wonder of, hey, what you get the first time is as authentic as it gets, and we don't do a second.
Right on.
Unless I botch something royally. And it's not luck, it's fucking repetition. And Kobe Bryant, like, how many hours did he spend training to become who he was? Like, it doesn't just happen overnight.
No.
Yeah.
How many times did you guys fail in business to get to where you're at today?
3 today.
More times than I care. More times than I care to remember.
And that's what people don't understand. It's not luck. It's fucking determination and, the willpower to keep going even when you've been kicked in the balls and fucking punched in the face.
Yeah.
And legit, you've been punched in the face more times than we can count.
Absolutely, man. No, dude, even going back to the pandemic, I mean, I had a project that unraveled even then, which I was pretty late in my career, and my personal bank accounts, like, I think hit zero like 4 or 5 times during the pandemic. Was able to scramble and figure it out. But like even at that stage, I mean, that was what, I'm 46 now, so I was 40, 43-ish around there, which sucks when you got a wife and 3 kids and all the weight that you carry at that stage. So it's just part of doesn't have to be part of the experience, but many times it is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, conventional wisdom would tell you not to do something because of the outsized risk, but then without the risk, there's no reward. I mean, unless you're born with a silver spoon and you're actually taught, and I don't mean like silver spoon, you get a trust fund and you never actually work for anything and you get to live off of daddy's pension. That's something totally different. But if you're given something and you're at least taught, like, you can go out there and you can experiment, you can be somewhat reckless, and then you can get data and you can take that data and then you can build upon it and you can do something better every single day. That's how anybody is going to experience progression in their life. I mean, like you said, how many times we fail? Like, we literally fail every single day. Usually it's smaller, it's a little less expensive than it was the week prior, but I mean, our entire business is set up for failure so that we can take those sets of data and then do better the following day or the following week or the following month. Because without it, we wouldn't even be able to exist. We just atrophy and die.
Exactly. And that's what people just don't get, fellas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head when you're saying repetition. So it's like we all have certain gifts and things that we're born with. There are the things that we have to develop and grow and work on to improve. But regardless, like it takes repetition. Like and we all have a certain amount of time. We have the amount of time that we're given. Here on Earth, and it's what you do with that time. And again, getting those reps in, whether it's reps on the target, it's reps from concealed carry, or if it's reps, in front of a video camera.
Exactly. And not every day is going to be your best, but pick yourself up and stop making the whole day a bad day. You can have a bad hour, you can have a bad minute, but it doesn't mean it fucked your whole day. And learn to let go, because there's a lot worse shit happening to other people.
Yeah, I think that's such a good perspective. Is like, it's not a bad day. You have moments in the day that can feel bad or maybe are bad, but the whole day's not. Especially if you're alive and you're breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
You're talking to a guy that shouldn't still be here. Between all the fucking hurdles I went through.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. And it sounds like that has enabled you to kind of be able to step outside of yourself at times and have a different perspective. And would you say that does help you from moment to moment? Like, so like maybe in the past where you got hung up on, whether it's doing a video or it's, worrying about how you said something or did something. It's like, is it easier now to not get hung up on those moments? Or is that just came back to the reps where you've just realized that, making mistakes and not being perfect is just part of the process. And it's more about making the decisions, taking action and learning from it. And it just gets better over time.
It's the reps, over and over again. Every time going on the gun range, every time training with the guys, like, they're going to find your flaws. You're going to find your flaws. And if you would have asked me a year ago to do a podcast without Squints, no fucking chance.
Yeah. How long are you guys
now
been
I'll
doing
run
now?
a year and 5 months.
Okay.
And so now, if Squints is out and I'm in, okay, I'll run the podcast. He's like, you got this, don't worry about it. Before, no.
All right,
How
Nate,
did
you can leave. I got this.
I'll see you later, guys. I'm out.
Peace.
Don't need me no more.
It was just episode after episode, just getting more and more comfortable with it. Because he would always force me to do the intro just to get me out of my comfort zone.
That's
now, if
cool.
it was someone's name I couldn't pronounce, I'd intentionally give it to him. I'd be like, you're going to fuck this one up today, and I'm not doing it.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys got a great working or just relationship in general.
Oh, yeah. And we give each other shit, and he wants to go take this firearms class coming up soon. I'm like, we're going to get our asses kicked, right? He's like, yeah, but it'll be fun. All right, fuck it. He's like, I need an excuse to go buy a J-frame. I'm like, all right, I got 2.
Man.
What you got, Adam? I can see those wheels spinning.
I'm waiting for Nate, so he's over here, and I was like, is he talking? And the camera's here, so I just wanted to make sure I didn't jump on him.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, where did the name Squints come from? Like, that is just such a classic name, and I know we started off asking about it, but I want to know.
I've never asked him.
Really? You're just going with it. Like, his nickname could be, I would try and keep it PG, but it could be anything.
No, but his nickname since the movie's been Squints.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought that's what they called him in the movie, wasn't it?
Oh, it's because he wore glasses and he had to squint his eyes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. gonna say I thought there was a reason.
There was a reason. I had to think about it for a
No,
second.
you got it. You recalled it.
Yep.
And
He
if
actually
we,
just remade
I was gonna say,
those glasses.
and if we didn't get it, anybody that like watched this on YouTube would probably let us know in the comments.
Yeah, doesn't he take his
Be
glasses
like, hey,
off?
stupid.
And he's like, Wendy Peppercorn, or whatever her name is. It is.
Nah,
'Cause he's
pretty
at
sure
the-
that's her name.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
at the pool, and he's
pretty
like,
sure that was it, man.
yeah.
Well, so what is all right? So what is your? I'm curious because we kind of went past the 2A stuff and the gun stuff pretty quickly. Like, what is your daily kind of like? What is your everyday carry comprise of?
Firearms?
All of it. Just what's your EDC?
Your loadouts.
Staccato C2 with a Halo Sun 507K. Spare mag with 17. Today we got a Civivi knife. There's a flashlight, usually a Surefire in my pocket. Handcuffs in the car, zippy cuffs in the car. Some other fun stuff in the car for a rainy day. If I can make it back to the car.
Right.
And then wallet, cash, and car key only. I don't carry any other keys.
And what was the knife you said it was? The blade?
A Civivi.
What is a Civivi?
Nothing.
I've never actually heard of a Civivi.
They're Chinese made. They're
Okay. Nice. Okay.
I recognize that logo. So
yeah,
I
not
like it,
bad
though.
for $100.
is that
No,
Damascus?
it's a good looking knife.
You lose it, you're like, okay. I lose like a Microtech, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, that's why I've got
Yeah.
this guy. Just my
That'll
little,
hurt your feelings.
got my
That'll
little
hurt your
Kershaw,
feelings.
because I
I
don't
did-
want
I
to.
did-
Can't go wrong with a good Kershaw.
Yeah, because I don't
did-
mind losing it.
I had to donate a Benchmade to the TSA a few years back. That
Oh,
bummed me out.
I've given them 7 Spider Coats.
Ooh. Yeah.
Luckily, it was like the $85 one, so I wasn't too butthurt. They're like, you can go check a bag. I'm like, fuck this, keep it.
Yeah. No, I got other stuff I gotta go do. Like,
Yeah.
man, all right. So that's your EDC. I think there are lots of debates around, single stack, high capacity. Like, why did you go with the Staccato? Why did you go with the higher round count?
So, helps I'm sponsored by Staccato. We all know under pressure, you're going to miss. Just
Yeah.
the way the cookie crumbles. You are not going to get that time to sit there and look pretty. Now, if you're Terran Tactical, Tim Kennedy, Jerry Michalik, Lena Michalik, you're not going to miss.
Right.
Oh, but I'm not them. I'm not pumping 500 rounds a day. If
No,
I'm
that makes
lucky,
sense.
it's 500 rounds every 2 weeks. And so, look, my hit rate's 85%. I can hit 100 yards with a handgun if I'm standing there just slowly doing the math or, just pacing it out. But, yeah, I'd rather have 17 plus 1 and just one mag in the gun. And no, I got fairly good odds.
Yeah, that's why I want to go to a 2011. I love 1911s just for the simple fact that I can shoot them better than most polymer frame pistols. But the limiting factor being just 7 rounds plus 1, and then another 7 rounds. I'm like, I gotta step it up. And so the only problem with Staccatos is if you want to buy one, you have to wait 6 months right now because the lead times on them are so crazy long. So I've been eyeing them forever, and I'm like, I should just pull the trigger and it'll come in 6 months.
You should. And it might come sooner if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Or you can go to a dealer that sometimes already has them at MSRP.
Yeah, that's not. They don't have those here in Iowa. There's no dealer for Staccato in the state of Iowa.
So then go on Gunbroker and just have them ship it to you.
Yeah, that's probably the only way to go for it. I love Staccatos.
Yeah, like for me, they custom logo every one of my guns for me. Like my wait time's still probably 3 months.
So what was that presentation like with Staccato? Are they saying we appreciate what you've done in your charitable work or in your business? Like, how did that arrangement come about?
I did them a favor that I'm not allowed to talk about, but remember how I started off by getting rich by giving shit away for free?
Yeah.
Yep.
I put a deal together for them that did not benefit me anything besides connecting two friends.
Cool.
And like I said, pay it forward, and then you can make a phone call and say, hey, I want one of those. Or, hey, I'd really love to work with you guys. Can we work something out? And because you've done all these other things, you're not cashing in chips. They're just more likely to work with you.
Sure.
That makes sense.
And if anybody's wondering, the Staccato will fit in a Vanish holster. So
there you go.
Works with 99% of modern handguns.
There it is. All right, so we know what your EDC is. You've mentioned a lot of the training that you've gone through. What training are you doing? What's your most favorite training, and like what would be your recommendation for anyone out there that's wanting to polish their skills?
So I have Leo Reserve training, which was a pain in the ass, and I learned a bunch of shit that you'd never really use in real life, but that's just, you got to go by the book on that one. I've done a ton of QCB stuff, which I love. Is, for the people that don't know, it's like clearing your house. It would be the similar reference, or it is. And, just clearing your house with a laser gun, I forget what the hell it's called, a SIRT gun, and just really learning how you can position your firearm going through the house really helps you, because it's your house. Nobody knows it better than you. And going to Sheepdog with Tim, getting to train with Tim, getting to train with several other military guys, like it's just that repetition. Even Terran Tactical, it's the quick run and gun through the obstacle course and just figuring it out. And having 10 people standing behind you at Terran's place watching you fuck up adds extra pressure you don't want, but you need it.
I'm sure. That sounds intimidating.
That kind of helps simulate like the level of pressure and stress that you would feel like, it's as close as you're going to get to simulating.
As close as we're going to get.
Yeah. Got it.